So honestly, I think this is one of the best chess book ever. Not because it will make you become a world champion. It's one of the best chess book ever because the author has made a great historical comparison of what happened in the chess world in a certain year compared to what happened in the world. The part I would like to show you today is relative to 1985, but I will go to 1984 for a second because I need to give you a little context for those that don't know anything about that period. And why do I say that? Because I've noticed that most of the people watching my channel are young people, and so maybe they don't know about 1984, okay? Which, by the way, is also a book, 1984. But okay, this is not the point. For example, one of the things I love about this book is here, because it says, this is the comparison with the real life. It says, over 2,000 people die after toxic gas leak from an insecticide plant at Bhopal, India. I remember that thing. I'm really sorry for that people who died like that because it's terrible, you know. And why do I have to go for a second in 1984? Also, if I'm showing you something from 1985, because what I'm going to show you that you can see in this position is from this match between Kasparov and Karpov. In 1984 they started a match for the World Championship, but nobody thought that it would become so long, right? It seems by game 32 at the end of 1984 the score is Karpov 5 wins, Kasparov 1 win with 30 draws. So the match drags on into the next year. The organizer had not anticipated such a lengthy match, and so there is a problem because the site for the match was also booked for other events, you know. So after a further sequence of 10 draws followed by 2 wins for Kasparov, the World Championship match is abandoned in an unclear and controversial circumstances at the instigation of FIDE President Campomanes. It is claimed that the players are exhausted, but both declare themselves willing to continue the match. There is to be a new match later in 1985, limited to 24 games, and with a score starting at 0-0. Both players have grounds for complaint. Karpov because his 5-3 lead has been wiped out, and Kasparov because he was finally scenting victory. FIDE's handling of a match damages its credibility as organizer of a World Championship and starts a bitter feud between Kasparov and Campomanes. Kasparov emerged a convincing 13-11 winner in the second match, 5 wins and 3 losses. Karpov has a right to a return match in 1986. This privilege was granted as part of a deal to end the 4th match. So, here you have a position from Anatoly Karpov white, Kasparov black, and this is the World Championship match game 16 from Moscow 1985. Okay? So we are at move 13 for Kasparov. You can already pause the video, or maybe while I was reading you the book, you could have thought what move you would have played if you were black. Here it says Kasparov's dubious gambit idea has not been punished, and he now obtains good play by preparing to sink his knight into d3. Okay, so as you can see from the material, Kasparov sacrificed a pawn for obviously having something, and his move is bishop f5. Karpov continue with bishop g5, rook e8. Now we must remember Karpov 1985, also if he started to be an older player, he was clearly at the top of his career, and he was probably very, very difficult to beat. He wasn't the kid that was challenging Fischer in 1975 and that maybe would have not survived a match against Fischer. Let's remember that, because when he had to play against Korchnoi, I think in 1978, he fared a little badly. He won the match, but 6-5, so not really convincing, right? In any case, after rook e8, queen d2 is what followed. It seems that the best move was probably knight c4. Okay, but again, guys, I leave you big analysis and stuff in the book, because maybe it's become a little boring, and you can buy the book. What is important is, in my opinion, to understand the ideas, to find the moves of the champions. Like in this case, if you were Kasparov, what would you play in this position? Kasparov played b5, rook a d1, and now finally Kasparov plays knight d3, right? Because that was the idea for bishop f5. How does white continue here? Again, I don't know if by the moment you will see this video I have published some games about the isolated queen pawn. It's really an important pawn structure that you must study and must understand deeply. Here white played knight a b1, okay, but if you were trying to play this d6, because you see, right, the point, it seems that it's not going well, because after queen takes d6, bishop takes a8, rook takes a8, this gives white black a good compensation. So d6 is not the idea, and it's already difficult for white to find the right move. But knight a b1, not the good move, to tell you the truth. Black continue with h6, bishop h4, and b4. Another good move. Again, this is a world championship match between two players that are clearly the top of their field, and they have demonstrated that in tournament after tournament. It seems this move was met by g5. As you can see, white is getting thrown back, and black has the initiative. In the game, knight a4 was played. After this, and this is something I want to tell you, black plays this. Can you imagine? We are at move 20, practically 19. Can you imagine? This, up to this point, was Kasparov pre-game preparation. Pre-game preparation. Notice we are in 1985. 1985. What does this mean? It means that Stockfish didn't exist. Fritz 19 didn't exist. Whatever engine you think of didn't exist. Okay, they were in the mind of God, in the mind of some great programmers, but they didn't exist. The hardware to beat a world champion in 1985 didn't exist. and that's a fact, that we like it or not. And this is pre-game preparation for black, for Kasparov. So imagine how deep and how well he was prepared. Now, bishop g3 is the next move. Notice, when you have the isolated queen pawn, you want to control the square in front to block it, okay? So, bishop g3. Rook c8, this is a good move. The author of the book doesn't tell us why it's a good move. I think that taking it away from the diagonal is kind of good. Controlling a file is kind of good, okay? So I'm sorry that the author didn't explain it, because maybe you could be a beginner that takes this book, because again, I like it very much. This mix of chess history and world history is really nice, in my opinion. But maybe the chess is over your head, like it's over my head, because I definitely don't have a 19 moves preparation like Kasparov. I don't have that, sorry. b3. And now again, you are black. Get your thingy. If you want, use 10 minutes, use 3 minutes, but you need to think, okay? Why? Because if you just watch the game and I spoon feed you, you are not going to learn anything. You need to stop, waste 3 minutes and think what would you do if you were black, okay? Well, black played g5. Great move, right? Obviously, you need to ask yourself, for example, why white played this b3, right? Because this is what you need to ask yourself every time. He played knight b3 because he probably want to play this move, knight b2. But after g5, things become a little problematic, and you cannot really play that. And try to find out why, okay? Okay, so let's see how white continued. He continued with bishop takes d6, queen takes d6. So now the blocker is a queen. You generally obviously don't want to have a blocker as a queen, because the queen is a lot of points, right? Okay, so he continued with g3. And now again, take your clock, turn it again, or whatever you need to find black move. What do you think black will play in this position? Black played knight d7, okay? So, when I told you that knight b2 is a rule out, there is a reason. Now, white plays bishop g2, but let's say that he played knight b2, okay? What would you think black would do? Because again, you need to ask yourself why and what he's doing. So, the move would be the following. Queen f6. Boom. And now, obviously you say, haha, but I can play this, right? I'm not going to show you all the analysis because you can buy the book, but I will show you the main one. Oops! Can you imagine? And you say, well, what does it mean? It just means this. No. Is trapping this queen, okay? This is the real problem. Is trapping the queen, and if you don't try to defend, it's a mess. For example, you cannot play this because of this, right? You cannot play this because of this. Do you want to take here? No, you can't because of that. So what do you do here? What do you do? Where do you go? Where do you go with this queen? You say, okay, I go here, but then the resulting loss of material is kind of heavy, right? Very heavy. I don't know. as you can see, that was the reason why knight b2 wasn't possible. And look how these champions actually watch. They were able to visualize ahead what would happen. Let me bring back the pieces to the position as we had it, I think, or I think not, because sometimes it's a little difficult without a diagram, right? So that's why we need diagrams in critical moments of the game, because otherwise, if you don't remember the position, it's not enjoyable to see the lines and variation given in the analysis. In any case, black just played knight d7 with that idea that I just showed you, and obviously the prophylaxis by Karpov, bishop g2, okay? Yet, unfortunately, white is kind of tied up because this move is still good and is controlling, as you can see, d2, e1, c1, a lot of stuff. So a3, e5, a takes b4, a takes b4, queen a2, and now there is bishop g6, a good move because it opens for the queen. d6, now you can see why it was important to remove the rook from there, and g4, queen d2, king g7, defending. So you see, before going in an all-out attack, especially against Kasparov learned to cover all his bases. And this was one of the polemics by Karpov, because Kasparov at a certain point says, oh, but I didn't sign up for playing Karpov forever, no? In match after match, because they were the two top players of that period. But at the same time, Karpov said, but I taught him chess, because this kind of matches that Kasparov played against Karpov really taught him a lot. F3, and of course now white succumbs to a burst of tactics which are typical of Kasparov play. Queen takes d6, now we watch just the game, how it ended, okay? F takes g4, queen d4, check, king h1, knight f6, rook f4, knight e4, queen takes d3, boom, knight f2, rook takes f2, bishop takes d3, rook f d2, queen e3, rook takes d3. What are you going to play? Now pause the video and try to find out what you would play in this position, because it's a typical tactic that happen in many games. Rook c1, knight b2. Oh, obviously you understand now that what happens if you take. Knight b2, queen f2, obviously threatening a possible checkmate, knight d2, rook takes d1, knight takes d1, and the end is with rook e1 check. I hope that you enjoyed this beautiful game by this book. As you can see, there is a blend of chess history, world history, and a beautiful right chosen game, selected game of that period that will open your eyes to how beautiful chess is, and the many things that happened during chess history and the world history. Thank you very much for watching.